Welcome to the Bold Money Revolution podcast. This is your source for straight talking, no fluff, business and high performance conversations that add real depth and value to the way bold leaders live, work, and thrive. I'm your host, Tara Newman. I'm here to show you how to optimize your performance as a leader so that you can grow a business that is profit-rich, efficient, and allows you to generate real, tangible wealth for yourself and others. We are here to help you lead with your values, to perform without overwhelm and burnout, and to do your most important work in the world. Hey, Tara here. I don't know if you've heard the exciting news, but I have a simple and easy way for you to calculate a clear revenue goal so you're able to pay yourself and have the additional money you want for those lifestyle upgrades. I hear from women all the time that navigating their numbers and spreadsheets just isn't their strength and can even be incredibly intimidating at times. So if this sounds like you, don't worry, I got you. This revenue goal calculator is programmed based on my work as a profit first certified consultant, which means you will know exactly how much money you can afford to pay yourself, how much money you will need to save for taxes, and how much money you can put toward the running of your business. All you need to do is key in a few numbers and dare to dream. So to grab your revenue goal calculator right now, run, don't walk, and start paying yourself more, go to theboldleadership.com/revenue. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the Bold Money Revolution podcast. I'm excited to be here today with Cassie Christopher. She is a member inside the Bold Profit Academy, and I wanted to have her on because I think she is an excellent role model for women business owners, women service providers, and she really embodies some of the most important, in my opinion, behaviors or characteristics that business owners really need to have. And she and I were just talking about it because she was like, I don't feel like a role model, right? Because it's just so typical of women. But I said to her, I said, you really are. You have a high propensity for action. She really shows up for herself and her business by taking that action. And in the Bold Profit Academy, we were talking actually about two characteristics that are really important for women leaders, and that's resiliency and problem solving. And I think that Cassie also really embodies those things. And I think you'll see that as we have this conversation here today. And it's really important for me to give a realistic view of business ownership. I was saying that to Cassie as well. You know, I come from a small business background that wasn't online specific. And so I see lots of different industries and lots of different businesses, and it looks so different than what we might think it looks like when we open our apps or something like that. So it's really important for me to have everybody have these realistic perspectives of business ownership. So welcome, Cassie. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm a registered dietitian and I help postmenopausal women to make peace with food so that they can end emotional eating and end their yo-yo dieting struggles and just live their most happy, joyous life, not being preoccupied or frustrated with food. It's a simple and really lovely and transformational thing that I'm so passionate about it. I have a lot of soapboxes I get on about the topic. And so being able to work with you to help me do that better, it's allowed me to show up and it's been amazing. So thank you for your work.
Yeah, I love what you do and I love who you do it for. Because, I'm a little older than you. I'm 45. So, I'm probably like around that perimenopausal. Things are starting to get a little strange, but I have a lot of clients. My demographic is oddly 35 to 60. And so I do have a lot of women who I work with who wind up, having to navigate menopause symptoms in their business, which can be quite a bit of a yo-yo and an up and down for them. So I really appreciate the clientele that you have.
Yeah. It's just, people are often like, why do you work with women older than you? And like, those are the people I like to work with. I don't know why. It's like a 30-year-old.
Because we're awesome.
Yeah. a 30-year-old comes to me and I'm like, I can't handle you. Like, I don't know what to do for you. You have like young children. It's probably because that's just it's too close for me.
Yeah,
Right?
that's you.
I'm like, go away.
Too much of a mirror on that one.
Yeah, right.
All right. So right out of the gates, I am going to do a hot plug for the revenue goal calculator. And that is our free tool. So if you go to theboldleadershiprevolution.com/revenue, you will find the revenue goal calculator. And I actually wanted to hear from Cassie because she has used it. This is a tool that we use in the Bold Profit Academy. And I checked and she says, yes, I've used it. And I'd like to hear from you, Cassie, like how was using this tool? What has it allowed you to do?
Yeah. I think it's allowed me to dream realistically and also allowed me to communicate well to my non-entrepreneurial spouse.
Mm-hmm.
And so, one of our dreams is that my business would flourish to the point where, he can just go off and do whatever the heck he wants and not have to worry about money making. And so at this point, he's kind of the main breadwinner. And so looking at that revenue calculator has allowed us to say, okay, like what would that realistically look like? Because right now it feels a little bit pie in the sky, like, oh yeah, someday. But then I hear from people actually in our community who have done this. And I'm like, whoa, this is a real thing people can do. It's not a pie in the sky dream. Like, what would that look like for us? And so plugging the numbers into that calculator allowed me to see like, in the next couple of years, this is going to happen. And yeah, just to get really excited about that, have something I can work towards. And then also for now to kind of communicate with my husband about, if we want to, whatever we want to do financially, if we want to, like I would love, my business dream is to take a Disney vacation, like to Aulani. Like I want to fund that with my business and, add maybe a master bedroom onto our house that feels a little sumptuous. These kinds of things, like that calculator allowed me to see, once food's on the table, how much do I have to make those things happen? And yeah, but really boots on the ground. So it's helpful for that realistic today, what do I need? And that future planning, where do we want to go? And what's it going to take to get there? And I've found Profit First to be so liberating for me, because before I implemented the accounts and everything and working with you, I was just always afraid. I just always had anxiety. Literally every day I was like, oh, may not have money today. And I just had, honestly, scads of money sitting in my account. And yet, because it was all in one place, right? And so I was like, yeah, but who knows if I'm gonna be able to pay someone, it just felt like this thing I would deal with later. But later has come. Now I know what I can afford and what I can't afford. And wow, that's a really empowering feeling.
Thank you. Yeah. So Cassie's just jumping right into all the things. First about the calculator, I think that it gives you a purpose for your money. Mm-hmm. That's really what I'm hearing you say. Like, you can, there's sections in the worksheet where you can put those extras that you want, and you can use the spreadsheet and just model what it looks like to cover like where you're at. And then you can like get really dreamy with it and add in like, whatever kind of vacation you want to have, or the upgrades to the house, or the retiring of the partner, or any of those things to allow you to dream a little bigger. But, you said something that I really want to address. You said once food's on the table. And I think that's so important, because what I notice about specifically the online space when we talk about money is, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, I'm pretty sure most people have seen this. If you haven't, you can go Google it. But like at the bottom is basic needs. And then like you kind of move your way up. And at the tippy top of this pyramid is self-actualization, right? And I think in the online space, we're selling self-actualization, but without focusing on any of those other steps. And I think that makes things really difficult to achieve, but also really dangerous, because we do need to follow some of those other steps. We do need to have basic needs accounted for. And I think it's important.
Yeah, and I
So
think
it's yes, it's like both and. It's like, yes, let's make sure that our businesses can provide for us. And let's use them as a tool for more than enough.
yeah, and I think for me, like, because before I came to you, I had that $1 million number in my mind that's in the online space. And because I am someone who wants to grow my business someday,
Hmm.
I've got short term goals and long term goals, but
Hmm.
there's a lot of anxiety when you're focusing on, well, how do I get to 1 million without first focusing on, like, what do I actually need to have my needs met? And so, yeah, for me, just having a realistic picture has provided a lot of peace.
So again, you're just getting right into it here today, and I love it. So one of the things that we say about the Bold Profit Academy is that it's for women who want to get to that first 250K and or 250K, 300,000, like year after year after year. Like this is like the build, right? And the reason why we picked that number is actually based on profit first. When you get to $250,000, you're comfortably paying yourself a six-figure income. You have profit left over in your business to reinvest, to save, to build net worth, to have other projects going on, to take that vacation, whatever it is that you want to do. And you have enough money for expenses so you can hire some team and you can run this business very simply. So, I think people challenge me and they said, oh, is that your limiting thinking? Is that their limiting thinking? I said, no, actually, I think that it's expansive because once you can see, even just from using the revenue goal calculator, of what happens when you get to that 250,000 mark, you can decide whether or not that's enough for you, whether or not you want to go for more, and what that looks like, and how that changes in your business based on actual facts, profit first facts. Because you might get to that number and you might be like, wow, this is really enough. And I can reach this number in a very short amount of time during the week, and I can have a life and I can make great money. Or you're like, wow, this 250,000 is a lot closer than I thought it was. And now I'm going to be ready to set a new goal and move it up. I think that the 7-figure, 8-figure number is like such a severe distraction. And it causes a tremendous amount of almost like panic, like what you were saying, right? Like, because we have a comfort zone and everybody's like, oh, get outside your comfort zone. But it's not just inside the comfort zone and outside the comfort zone. Then we have a learning zone where you're stretching yourself and challenging yourself, which is where we like to keep you in the Bold Profit Academy. But then you have the panic zone where you've kind of maybe stretched a little too far. And instead of that being beneficial, it's shutting you down and your nervous system can't move and you're frozen. So my goal for everyone is just to keep us navigating our nervous system so we can keep moving forward and we can keep being consistent and focused and things like that. So, I'm glad that you have found value in that calculator and have gotten something out of it. So I'm going to just remind everybody that they can download it for free. Right? It's awesome.
Yeah, definitely go do it and prepare to feel.
And it's simple. It's simple to use, right? Because I know some people are like, oh, it might be complicated or intimidating, but
No.
I've made it so easy, which is my whole goal for the Bold Profit Academy, is to give you tools that are easy, make things easy for you to use so that there are no excuses. You can just get in there and take a look at it. I love how you said that it's helping you have conversations with your partner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to understand what's actually going on with our money. I mean, we have not so great habits of not paying that close attention to our money. And so this way, yeah, it sparked some good conversations.
Yeah, it gives you language for money that I think women don't normally have. And, everyone gets so irritated when women are like, oh, I have to check with my spouse, or I have to ask my accountant, or I have to, and it's like, ladies, when are we going to take responsibility and do this for ourselves? Except that what happens is, and I always quote Tony Robbins, even though I'm not a Tony Robbins fan, so I always have to say that, but he does say when two people walk into a room and there's rapport, the person who is most certain will influence the other. And so why this works for women is because it helps them become certain about their money. And then they can go have that conversation with whoever, the partner, the parent, the accountant, the whoever, and they're certain. So they're going to have influence in that conversation. They're going to say, oh no, this is how much I make. This is how much I bring home. This is how much I invest in my business. This is how much, and you know your numbers. And it's really exquisite.
Yeah.
Right. It's really confidence boosting. So I wanted to ask you some questions to maybe help some women think through where they might be right now and where they might want to go in their business. I think having you talk about and share your story will help women kind of get some direction and some understanding about maybe what's next for them. That's like a big question that I get. Like, I'm not sure what to do next. So when you applied for the Bold Profit Academy, what was going on for you when you put in that application? Like, how were you feeling? What were you experiencing in your business? Because you were making money, you were successful, everything was fine on paper.
On paper. On paper is the key word. So I was actually having a bit of a mentor crisis when I reached out to you. I had just a bad experience with someone who I had bought programs from in the online space and, felt like I had learned a lot from and, given them a lot of my money. And honestly, it ended up being a traumatic parting of ways. And it really was traumatic for me. I've talked it over with my therapist, and in that moment, I think in many ways it was good that the event happened. Like we can always see in hindsight, because I was at a place where I was really relying on groupthink and someone else's opinions to run my business. And when I would run into any little problem, I would scurry over to the Facebook group associated with this group and ask for help, before starting to just try to figure it out for myself. And I was having more success in my business at that time, and which was exciting, but also, with that growth comes growing pains, and more clients come more people to care for. And I was noticing I was starting to get that burnt out feeling.
Yeah.
And that's nothing new for me. I'm someone who pushes and pushes and pushes and goes and goes and goes. And I'm honestly working to reprogram or deprogram that instinct. But at that time, I was feeling disconnected from my own intuition. I felt like I didn't know anything about online business or business in general, even though I actually have my undergrad degree in business with a concentration in entrepreneurship. And I just felt like that translated nothing to life skills or online or anything. So I was feeling disconnected from that intuition. I was feeling burnt out and then feeling really hurt and betrayed, I think, in some ways, to be honest. And I had heard of you through another podcast, and I think something you had said sparked me to look at your website at that time. And you had used words like trauma and resilience. And in that moment when I was feeling not resilient and traumatized, I was like, oh, I know this person who talks about this in business. I should check her out. And so then it was funny because I'm like, am I looking for a rebound coach? Like, do I just need to be on my own 2 feet for a while? But I listened, to that inner voice that was like, no, just go do it. Go get support. Worst case scenario, you know what I mean? You can leave if it's not helpful. And so
we had a conversation about this that I think you felt, so I always say to everybody, and I'm just going to tee it up and say, it's safe to message me, right? It's safe to email me.
Yeah. I emailed you the whole story.
Yeah. And I think that I just really want everybody to hear that, because if you are on my email list, first of all, you get amazing emails from me. Second of all, I do really want to hear from you. Even if you're not going to buy from me, please always feel free to engage with me. It is safe to be in my emails or in my DMs on social media. And I don't know how many different ways to say that, because I'm happy to help you make decisions about whether or not either this program or another program is the best program for you. You know, I'm not attached to people working with me. And I hope that you felt that when we had that conversation in email.
Well, I don't know if you remember this, but I think I actually reached out to you when I first heard of you and was like, hey, should I join? I was deciding between like the Step Up program and my other program or you, but I wasn't hitting my revenue targets at that point. And so I was still in that early creation zone. And you were like, hey, get to where you're having some more consistent income, and then this will be a great fit for you.
Oh, I see. I didn't even.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, y'all just email me and just tell me where you're at, and I'll tell you what you need to do, because, you know, I'm really committed to people who work with me getting the results that they deserve and that I want them to have. And so if I don't think I can get you that result, I'll be quite clear in that communication. Yeah. So, and I want to just also acknowledge that, you know, you have this personality that tends to push, that you are feeling exhausted. I'm really here to destigmatize women feeling tired. I feel tired at times. And it is really important that we're able to talk about that and find solutions, because we don't have to be tired. And at the same time, it's okay to be tired, right? Like, so it's kind of like a both and on that. For anybody who's listened to this podcast and has heard the podcast, it's our most popular podcast about going from a high achiever to a high performer. You are seeing Cassie in this transition. So, you know, someone who has gone from push, from like cycles of exhaustion, tuning out her intuition because maybe that's how you get to that goal, and being really myopic around what it is that she wants. And even saying that, you know, she's ambitious. You heard her say, she's like, you know, 250 is like the first stop, right? Like, she's ambitious. And so you come in, and what was your first experience? What were some of your thoughts around that? What were you interested in?
So it was the Q1 revenue acceleration cycle when I first came in, and you were presenting EMS, energy mindset strategy, for those of you who do not know, framework. And it blew my mind because I had never heard productivity or performance talked about in that way. I mean, and we're talking, right, like from a child, and my, you know, parents and my examples, right, was all about the S, the strategy. How are we going to get this done? The program I was just in was all about the S. And I remember them saying to me, like, oh, do whatever you need to do to feel good so that you can do, you know, the strategy. So there was no EM there. And it's interesting because, I mean, that's what I wanted, strategy. Like, that's what I purchased. I didn't know that I needed the EM, right? And so, and interestingly, I think anyone who's in business will relate that there's like personal growth, whether you want it or not. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like the M part even was an area that I had grown in most recently, but the energy piece was just, not something I've ever thought about or cared about, like, because I'm a push. And like, tuning into your own energy levels and how you feel, you know, it had expanded some work that I had already been doing around, you know, my beliefs about my worthiness of self-care, and my beliefs about, you know, pleasure and desire, and what roles those have to play in my day-to-day. Like, I realized, you know, through working through this energy stuff and really diving into it, that I just didn't believe that I should feel good during the day, or that part of reaching my goals should be feeling good. And that sounds crazy. I mean, it sounds really messed up. It's messed up. It is really messed up. But I see now that I can have both. I think we had talked at one of the office hours, and I had shared my sister was like, oh, well, maybe you can make some time to go read a book at the beach. And I was just like, what? Like, you don't read a book at the beach when you're a business owner? Like, what the heck, And then I'm like, wait a minute, I'm a business owner. I can, if I want to go read a book at the beach, I can. That's why I'm an entrepreneur. But I wasn't reading books at the beach. I didn't have any margin in my schedule in my life. I was too tired to get in the car and drive to the beach. I live like 2 miles away. So the beginning of my time in the Bold Profit Academy was really having my eyes open to energy, and then also my eyes open to intuition. So when I started doing the CEO debrief more or less every other week. I'll be honest with everyone. I struggle with getting that into my schedule. My schedule is still a little bit of a hot mess, but I'm working on it. And that really connected me to my own intuition, to see this idea of reflecting on what's working, what's not working, what I can do, what do I need to be accountable for, all of these pieces, and really taking time to look at that. Number one, I saw that I first noticed everything isn't on fire all the time. Because again, like my nervous system was so ramped up. I was anxious about money. I was feeling like, yes, I'm making money, but somehow also I'm just running around on fire all the time. And so the debrief allowed me to look back and go, oh, no, wait, this has been a good week. Some things that I'm doing are working, even though some things still feel hard, like marketing. Oh my gosh. But hey, there's pieces that are working here. And now I can pull those out and I can learn from them, keep doing them, whatever. And so it allowed me to see like I do more or less know what I'm doing. And so it gave me a real confidence in myself and my intuition. And that feels good. Also, I discovered I absolutely love debriefing when thinking about energy.
So good.
Fires me up.
People don't believe me, but I'm like, I have sold multiple millions of dollars in my business because I debrief.
Yeah.
I sit in my chair with my cozy blanket and my coffee and my favorite pens, and I debrief in my journal. I journal my way to millions. And like, I used to feel so much guilt and like almost embarrassment around saying that, like, nobody's going to believe me, but y'all, Cassie is telling you to believe me.
I totally am. And it's fun, right? And it feels good, which is funny because you've already heard how my mindset was a little crazy when I got in. So I used to save the CEO debriefs for the weekend because that was my time when I could feel good.
Sure. Or just in general, that's when you have a little space to sit down and, let your brain unwind a little bit, from the week. And here's the thing with the CEO debriefs and the EMS framework and why we use frameworks. And not like, and we give some templates and we give examples and stuff like that. But, we're not like blueprints or we're all going to do it the same way or we're all going to think the same thing. And, anything like that. Listen, we're all understanding and navigating this thing called change, right? And I am no stranger to change. I went to grad school to figure out how to change organizations. Organizational change was like a big part of my curriculum. I did this in bigger companies for my career. I've read all the books, John Kotter's Leading Change, all this jazz, right? And I remember listening to Marshall Goldsmith. He wrote a book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Everybody hacks off his quote. It's not theirs. It's actually Marshall Goldsmith's quote. He wrote a book on it. And I was listening to him in a training once, and he said, listen, if change was easy, everyone would do it, right? And so I'm like, okay, but let's like rethink that. Let's rethink that for a second and go, is it about change that people feel very like confronted by? It's hard. I'm going to have to do all these things. I'm going to have to give up who I am to be this other person. Like when you think about change, right? And also how it's presented a lot of times. But what if it's not about change? What if it's about choice? Right? And what if you don't have to be somebody different? But what if this is a whole process of coming back to you, of coming back home? of becoming more of who you already are. And through using these tools that we give you, like the CEO debrief, to assess yourself and assess where you're at and self-reflect, and how can we use the behaviors that you already have to grow your business and not make you be wrong or have to be somebody else. Like, so for the EMS framework, lots of people talk about mindset being important and things like that, but nobody has been able to make this concrete for our brains to understand and then to implement. I mean, maybe some stuff with mindset, but energy is super hard, right? And I'm not saying you have to do the things that I do to shift my energy and that I find enjoyable. I'm saying, how can we help you find the things that are here for you to do that? And that looks different for everybody. And I actually love hearing how everybody has different energy practices and different mindset practices. And I don't even want you to believe something different. You can believe whatever you want to believe, but can you believe that and take this action? And then maybe by taking the action, it changes your belief. I think so many times we try and think ourselves to someplace different.
Yeah.
And that creates this freeze for us, like physically in our bodies, we freeze. So if, that whole E piece is about navigating your central nervous system.
Yeah. And I think for me, it really came down to like those core beliefs of like, am I allowed to feel good during the day? Is that a part of my life and who I want to be? And when you say like coming home to yourself, I think in a lot of ways, this program has allowed me to apply my own values. Like I was thinking about like non-judgmental curiosity as a big value of mine. And I've got to exercise that a lot towards myself of like, wow, why do I feel exhausted right now? What's happening? But it also, I think that deep down there is a value of feeling good. Like I talk to other people about that, but for some reason it was a disconnect between myself and feeling good during the day. And yeah. And so leaning into the energy and at first, right, like I had no awareness. So it was a big learning experience. I'd say the last 6-ish months have been a very big learning experience of just paying attention to like what lights me up. Like I said, the debriefs I've discovered, I love debriefing, and I actually love doing my webinars or lives when people are actually watching.
Yeah.
Like that sort of kind of performance thing. I have so much energy afterwards and need to like go take a lap around the neighborhood to get some of it out. But then there's other things I've discovered that just drain me. And usually what it is too, is it's the stuff that drains me is me pushing myself. Like, okay, I have, a couple tasks I want to do. I'm just going to get them done. And without checking in, like, how do I feel? Is this really what I should be doing right now? So I've learned so much, and it's made such a difference. Like when I started the program, at the end of the day, I would sit at the dinner table with my family. I have a 2.5-year-old, my husband and I would read a book on my phone while eating dinner with my family because I just didn't have the energy to engage with them. I was exhausted. And now, I've done a lot. So I've put my daughter in full-time daycare now. I used to watch her 3 days a week and also try to do this. And that was exhausting. That's just physically impossible for the growth that I want. And so now I'm moving more. I've got these big hiking goals. I'm doing stairs at my local beach park, which I love. And I've noticed at 3:00, my mind dies. So I try to stop working around 3 and go do some movement. And if I have a little more I want to do, fine. But usually I'm done. And now at the end of the day, I'm not reading my book. I'm engaging with my family in the way that I want to. Like I was sad that I couldn't engage with my family. It felt like I had to choose between my business and my personal dreams and aspirations or my family. But leaning into energy has allowed me to, that kind of proverbial have it all, have what I want on my terms.
Yeah. So it's interesting because that EMS framework, By the way, I will, when you join the Bold Profit Academy, I promise that I will turn every social construct you ever believed in upside down and reframe it for you, right?
Death to the patriarchy.
How we sell, how we work, like all of it, how we navigate money. I will reframe it all so you can and step right into it, and with less less personal conflict. But the EMS framework I actually created last year during the pandemic because I needed it. I needed to have something concrete to help me navigate my day. And I had to look at like what I was doing, what worked, and then the results and things like that. So that's like when I created the EMS framework, because it's a framework for resiliency. And people think resiliency is pushing through, but we were talking about this in the Bold Profit Academy, that recovery is required to be resilient. Taking care of our energy and making that a priority. And what's happening for you right now is you're building your energetic capacity, and you're just at the beginning.
Yeah.
Right. And you can see how that's going to snowball and really start to increase. And it's going to help you navigate the things that you're going to need to navigate as a woman. So many of my clients are navigating children and businesses. And, even for me, I've got teens, and now I've got aging parents, and, my husband runs his own business. So there's a lot of responsibility and things to navigate, and it truly works. And then so much of what we're taught around selling is all the S, it's all the strategy. Mm-hmm. But when you look at the E and the M in relationship to sales, which is really emotional intelligence, to be honest, and how you combine emotional intelligence plus sales strategy is what really starts to get results. And I think for you, I remember when we first had that initial conversation, you were like, how do I be human? And these weren't your words. You were like, I have all these feelings. What do I do with them? But you were basically like, how do I bring my human to business? Mm-hmm. Right. And I think that the EMS framework gives you a place to navigate your feelings before you take strategic action from a place of heightened emotion.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I'm in the business of emotions. I help women to navigate their feelings so that they don't have to eat them, in their relationship with food. So I know I'm someone with a lot of big emotions, a lot of big feelings, and I'm not eating them. That was old me, which is now the transformation I help people have. But the strategies that I had to manage my emotions, which were, when I worked for someone else, it was things I did in the evening to recoup and recharge while, having a toddler and a business that doesn't really stop in the same way as leaving the office does. All of that was really thrown up in the air for me. And so this has been so good. And then not only that, the impact on me, but then I can serve my clients. I have better capacity for them, but I'm also seeing the things that are draining my energy now, and I can tell when it's happening. And so I can make that like emotionally intelligent choice. Like I think I've just been talking in the Bold Profit Academy. I had just shared the other day, like I feel used. I feel rage. I'm so, and to hear other people jump on and be like,
totally supported in those feelings, right? Totally validated, totally supported.
Yeah, it was amazing. Like literally someone's like, yeah, I think temper tantrums are okay. I'm like, oh, thanks for saying that, because I need to have one right now. But then it's like, okay, what is that telling me? Like if I feel rage after getting off the phone with a prospect, there's an energy imbalance because I'm giving so much and they're saying, yeah, thanks. You told me exactly what the problem is. Now I'm going to go back to my other solution that I know doesn't work and try to make it work. And it's like, yeah. So I'm excited. Like I have clarity on the things that are messing with my energy now. Like my refunds are also messing with my energy. That needs to change. Like I'm just getting a lot of clarity and I'm excited and fired up about, okay, now I'm going to figure out what to do about it. So it's not a problem anymore, or at least
Right.
minimize it. Minimize the rage.
Minimize the rage, but you have to feel the rage first before you can minimize it, right?
Yep.
What would you say your biggest breakthrough moment was? I know you just talked a lot about things that have changed and things that you have learned. And this really is a learning container, and it's a, learning, doing, implementing container. So you do naturally create outcomes and breakthroughs, but is there one that stands out to you as the most significant?
I mean, like you said, so many things in this past time, but I think the biggest is that, and like I said, before I joined this program, this whole self-care thing was on my mind. I knew it was messed up, and I was taking steps ever closer. It's a journey. I don't probably will never have arrived, but I was leaning into the word desire, and that felt first like a dirty word, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, let's add the P word, let's add pleasure to those dirty words. And those words were cropping up for me a lot. And I was like, I think I want that. But I still hadn't given myself permission to feel those things and lean into those things during the day. And so for me, I think part of it too has been interesting is I'm thinking of Danielle in the Bold Profit Academy. And she said something like, she's got the E part down, and she's really good at resting, and she's really good at managing her energy and caring for herself in that way. And she's a mom with young kids and a business. And I was like, wow, there are people who are good at this. There are people who find their days full of pleasure and who give themselves permission to do things they like, and who go to the beach and read books during the day and also have businesses they're excited about and are doing well. So I think the breakthrough has been in giving myself permission to lean into that. And part of that has been being a part of this community where it's something we talk about and there are other people modeling it.
Mm-hmm.
Like dear old Danielle, when you listen to this, Danielle, send me a message. But I remember she had like a blanket around her at office hours recently. And I'm like, man, that Danielle, she just knows how to care for herself.
Yeah, we get, it's interesting. We get a good split. So if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, I've got the E and the M handled, I need the S. We do that. We get probably half our peeps come in and they're like, I need some S, I need some strategy, I need some systems, I need some tools. And then the other half are my strategy peeps, and they need the E and the M. And it all works together. And that's why it's that, there's a harmony to it.
Well, it's wonderful to see other people, modeling that, because then I know it's possible and I can have an idea of what that could look like. Because like I said, for me, paying attention to my energy was just the most foreign of concepts. Like, I really cannot underscore this. My parents did not do that growing up. I had never seen anyone model that. My previous business coach was just leaning into caring for herself at the, multiple $1 million mark. So she couldn't advise me on how to do it here where I am out in the weeds. So yeah, I'd never seen that. I never knew to look for it. And that's been really powerful.
Yeah, thank you. I think I really wish that women really can start to embrace how this all kind of comes together. I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give women like you who are looking for support or thinking about getting support? Just because I know you were discerning about it, we had a conversation. So, for women who are like, oh, I think I'm struggling. I think I need help. I don't know what help I need. And they're kind of like overthinking it, right? Because we know we're chronic overthinkers. What advice would you give somebody so they can feel supported in their business?
Yeah, I think just don't do it alone. Reach out to other people. When I was considering joining this program, I kind of have my trusted board of directors being my husband and my mom,
Mm-hmm.
and my mom being a savvy businesswoman. So that's helpful. And, it's like, hey, let me read to you this random woman on the internet's webpage. What do you think about this? And they're like, yeah, that sounds like what you need. And then I reached
That
out
is a
to
great piece of advice, everyone. I have not heard that.
Read web pages to the people on your team. Yeah. Yeah, that was helpful. And then I reached out to you and was like, hey, can you help me? And you were like, 100%, we're going to fix this. And I was like, man, she believes it. I think I should do this.
Yeah, listen, I'm real honest. If I can help, I'm going to help. If I can't help, I'm going to help you find someone who can help. But I've been doing this a real long time.
Amazing.
In lots of different industries with lots of different kinds of people. And, I'm pretty clear on where my boundaries are around that. Cassie, thanks so much for sharing your journey. Can you tell people where they can find you? Because, if you are a woman who is menopausal or postmenopausal, right, and you want some support, I would highly recommend Cassie. So where can they find you?
Yeah, I have a thriving Facebook community there that you can find me and private message me. You can search emotional eating and women's wellness community if you're wanting support. If you're wanting to just talk and ask me about this program or my business or whatever, you can shoot me an email at hi@CassieChristopher.net. And I'd be happy to, share if that's helpful.
Have a conversation.
Exactly.
Right. Thank you so much for coming on, Cassie.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Hey, Bold Leader. I'm so excited to announce that we are accepting applications for the Bold Profit Academy, formerly known as the Brave Society. And we can't wait to have you join us just in time for our Q2 curriculum. Starting in March, we are focused on nailing your offers and your offer stack so you can stand out in the marketplace and, quite frankly, not hustle so dang hard for your revenue. One of the biggest problems I see among small business owners is the creation of cookie cutter offers that don't truly add value to your business because you don't fully understand your own value. And that leads to a tremendous amount of overworking and under-earning. Reviewing offers, updating offers, creating new offers, these are all critical skills so you can leverage your time and scale your income, which is exactly what we are doing inside the Bold Profit Academy in Q2. Each quarter, we have live curriculum in addition to our already on-demand training that you can implement as you need it. So if you are looking to understand the 7 components required for creating your boldest offer so you can stand out in the marketplace and increase your sales, learn how to stack and price offers so you can hit your revenue goal without overworking, create a framework that allows you to market, sell, deliver your offer in a way that is efficient and repeatable, learn how to qualify leads so you know just who is the right fit for your offer and when they are ready to buy, as well as create a simple communication strategy to educate your leads on your offer so it speeds up the buying process, then you are going to want to head over to theboldleadershiprevolution.com/academy and join us today. If you found this podcast valuable, help us develop more bold leaders in the world by sharing this episode with your friends, colleagues, and other bold leaders. Also, if you haven't done so already, please leave a review. I consider reviews like podcast currency, and it's the one thing you can do to help us out here at the Bold Leadership Revolution HQ. We would be so grateful for it. Special thanks goes to Stacey Harris from Uncommonly More, who is the producer and editor of this podcast. Go check them out for all your digital marketing and content creation needs. Be sure to tune into the next episode to help you embrace your ambition and leave the grind behind.